Man, what up to the many members of Eagles Nation? You guys are going to have to pray for me. Right before we went live, I had a turkey sandwich. We also had, what else? We had candy, the soft candy variety. We had Chewy Chips Ahoy. We had Krispy Kreme donuts. None of this is healthy. None of this is nutritious. But so you guys look out for us, and you guys kind of like give us some motivation and stuff through the chat window. We're going to be talking a lot of Eagles football today as usual. And let's pray we stay on subject, because right before we went live, we were talking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Hit us up in the comment section if you've seen the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. And shout out to our main man, John Leo, who had a private screening of that and had so much fun. He didn't bother to take any time to call us and tell us what happened, whether the movie was good, whether we should go see it, if he's still alive. Were there any interesting people out there? Jaleel just got totally selfish, decided he was going to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, didn't give us anything about this. But, the kid in me wants to go see this, even though this is, the 16th Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. Kind of, I'm hoping it's better than some of the other ones we had, but we'll see. Not much to rant about, so we're going to go ahead and bring in my main man, Jake Beckman. What's going on with you, Jake?
Oh, nothing much. I was just looking up the Rotten Tomatoes for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Couldn't find it, so that's where I'm at. But I thought it was looking good. It was looking, at least on Monday.
So how many Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies is this? Like, I don't know. Nobody knows this off the top of my head. I mean, they've been doing this since I was like 16.
Yeah, okay, so there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, the live-action one that they had human beings inside puppets. They had that one, and then there was Secret of the Ooze, so those two, and then they had they had three. I don't remember what that one was. And then there was the one that came out in like 2004. There was a different one that came out in like 2014. And then there were the two with Megan Fox. And I don't know why I'm counting my hands. I stopped counting. And then there's
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Who put Megan Fox in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie?
But no. Megan Fox was April O'Neil, and that had that was the one where Johnny Knoxville was Leo. Because nobody screams leader of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like the guy from Jackass.
Right.
So then there was that one, and then there's this. There was two of those, and then now there's this one. So, if they can reboot Batman 20 times, why not Ninja Turtles? That's where we're at.
Batman, I'm digging though. The Michael Keaton thing was dope as far as I'm concerned. I like the newer versions. Like every generation has its own version of Batman. You know how you had Bam Pow Bip, you had that guy.
Yeah.
Was that Adam West?
Adam West, yeah, a Family Guy.
Then we had some bad ones, man. George Clooney's not Batman.
There was that. Was he Nipples?
Was he?
I think he was a. Well, Tom April's asking what this has to do with the Eagles, and it's Eagles adjacent. They're both animals, right?
Right.
Spin zone, Tom.
Might as well get to work, man. So let's talk with a little bit of Haason Reddick. Haason Reddick made some headlines because there was a conversation. We all know that Haason Reddick is a lot of people take offense when we say stuff like this, that he's underpaid. He signed a 3-year, $45 million deal, $15 million per season and stuff like that. But by NFL standards, he's underpaid for the amount of production he put forth and everything, and being who I consider should have been the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Oh, yeah. So that's the thing about Haason Reddick. But he actually spoke with members of the media after a Philadelphia Eagles practice. I believe that was that Tuesday?
It was. It might have been. It might have been after that.
I think that was around the time they started doing the padded practice, and he had this to say.
Keep coming out, keep working, man. Those type of things have a way of sorting themselves out. You know what I'm saying? So I want to just continue to come out, work, prepare myself. Like I said, continue to be a better version of Haason Reddick. Continue to be a great teammate. Go out here, work hard for the guys, and let those things sort themselves out.
Are you underpaid?
Say it again.
Are you underpaid?
I ain't going to say her. Like I said, y'all see it. Y'all know what's going on. Like I said, I'm worried about being the best version of myself and letting everything else sort itself out. True.
Haason, Nolan Smith's been compared to you.
All right, so where I'm going to go with it is, first of all, kudos to the reporter. He asked the question. You're supposed to ask the question. Not going to get mad at him for that. Also, kudos to the Haason Reddick, because what ended up happening was, I like the stance he took. Didn't bring too much attention to himself. kept everything about the team, didn't say anything derogatory, didn't say anything to incite headlines because as much as we try to act like this is what we're doing, sometimes we're trying to incite guys into saying stuff. So proper question as far as the report is concerned, proper answer as far as Haason Reddick is concerned. But yes, he is underpaid. This league is pretty much based on one simple theory. You go get yourself a franchise quarterback, but then once we do that, and we've seen this as far as like great roster building from the Philadelphia Eagles for quite some time. You're supposed to go out, you get yourself a franchise quarterback, and we all know that's hard to do, which is why we keep drafting 5 or 6 every single April. And, you know, a lot of these guys don't work out. And I actually saw a stat the other day, Jake, where it was sitting there talking about how many times we've taken a guy first and second and how many times those guys typically don't work out. So you had like the RG3 Andrew Luck thing,
right?
The Jared Goff, Carson Wentz thing. And it looked for a while that Carson was going to be the guy. It looks like Jared Goff actually turned out to be the better player. So a lot of times we take those guys 1 and 2, Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf. It doesn't work out for one of those guys. Sometimes it didn't work out for both of those guys. But Philadelphia Eagles fortunately found their franchise signal call, and they find it after Carson Wentz because Carson Wentz doesn't work out. Jalen Hurts is obviously the guy.
Right.
So you get your franchise quarterback. If you can do that, that gives you a chance to be successful in the NFL. But then you have to go out and get yourself an offensive line. Philadelphia Eagles had the best offensive line. We've known that they have for a while. And then the other thing that you want to do is you want to go get some guys on the other side of the ball, the defensive line, to go chase these guys, which is where Haason Reddick comes in. Haason Reddick, not among the top 10 paid pass rushers as far as salary is concerned,
16th,
but
I believe.
one of the top 10 as far as talent and production. So the Eagles tend to lock up guys typically sooner rather than later. So I'm excited about that. So going into year 2 of a year 3 deal, I'm expecting to see something coming forward from him pretty soon. So probably not waiting to year 3, because if we wait till after this year, then we have massive production again. We're looking at somewhere in the area of maybe like a $20 million a year deal, but especially with this salary cap rising. So I was going to get your thoughts on that, because here's the other question. Do they need to pay Haason Reddick past 2 years if you have Nolan Smith waiting in the wings? What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I have thought about this a little bit. Number one, yeah, he's definitely underpaid, 100%. But it just doesn't happen. I mean, so he had been shopped around for the previous 2 years. All right, he saw what his value was with the previous 2 contracts that he had. All right, so he got this money, and it just doesn't happen where a team will restructure a contract, a 3-year contract like this after 1 year. Now, I think that they could do like incentives for him and stuff like that, maybe, but whatever creative incentives that they want to come up with, I think that they could do any kind of thing like that for him for this year. I think that what could happen is that they could restructure that contract, and what I would bringing up the Nolan Smith thing is a good point, because they do have, like you said, waiting in the wings. But I would like for them to be able to restructure Haason Reddick after this year. Now, one thing that I have said in the past is a way for Micah Parsons to come to Philly, which is what everybody knows what he wants to do, is that after that 3-year contract of Haason Reddick would be over, it would line up at the same time that Micah Parsons' 5-year thing in Dallas would be done. And he would be upset with them for never going anywhere in the playoffs. The Eagles would be probably going to the playoffs for those however many years it is. Then he would probably want to go somewhere else where he could win. Why not the place that he wants to play? Now, if Haason Reddick actually does, that would throw that entire plan out of the window. And especially with Nolan Smith hopefully showing up and doing what he does, that would funk up that entire thing. Now, to answer your question, I would like Haason Reddick, as long as he continues to be productive the way that he was last year, to be here for as long as he wants. Like we know, Brandon Graham's not going to be around forever. I think that having that depth, the reason that the Eagles defensive line and I guess that Sam linebacker position is able to be so productive last year is because they had all that depth. That way you keep guys' snaps limited and keep them fresher for more going on. So I don't necessarily think that having Nolan Smith and Haason Reddick on the same team for a long time, I don't think that's going to be taking anything away from them. Does that answer any question? I know that was a lot of thoughts that I just put out there all at once and probably didn't make a whole lot of sense.
But the thing too is like, and I like what you're saying, like, cause I actually wasn't even thinking about the Micah Parsons angle and stuff, but
yeah, no, you shouldn't.
We tend to want things in Philly. We tend to want players in Philly who want to be here, and that never seems to happen for us. So, any likelihood in your mind, maybe like, give me like a percentage, man, if we would like to play the numbers game, like, what percentage of confidence do you have that Micah Parsons actually could end up in a Philadelphia Eagles jersey? I would say about 45%. Like, first of all, Cowboys never seem to work here.
That is an incredibly good point, and I was going to bring that up because that's a hard thing to put into the percentage of chance that he could come here and chance that it would actually be beneficial if he did come here. Chance that it'd be beneficial if he did come here very low because, like you said, what is that? DeMarco Murray, yuck. No, thank you. It just the Cowboys don't work in Philly. But chance that he could come here, man, that 45 sound to me that sounds a little bit high. I
45 for Haason Reddick, you talking about?
No, for Micah Parsons.
For Micah Parsons, gotcha.
Yeah, the 45% for Micah Parsons to come here sounds high. I think realistically it's probably closer. Well, I would say probably less than 25%. I mean, who knows what the market for that position is going to be after his year 5. But I don't think he'll actually come here. That was just more of it would be a very funny thing to stick it to Dallas with something like that happening.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And with the Haason Reddick stuff coming on, like I said, you extend him. You don't need Micah.
Do we need him if we have Nolan?
Do you need Haason Reddick if you have Nolan?
So we get Haason Reddick. I would love to see Haason Reddick here for like the next 6-7 years, especially with the way he's playing. So I mean, two more years remaining on this deal, maybe give him another 4 or something like that. Now you've probably got him to the point where he's peaked out and everything. Maybe you're ready to move on then and stuff like that.
You're 7 right now, isn't it?
You got the 30th overall pick sitting there waiting in the wings.
Yeah,
I probably would have taken the 10 had we still had that pick at 10. I would have been satisfied with Nolan Smith at 10. I actually had done some mock drafts where he was taking the 10, and we get Jalen Carter, move up a spot to get Jalen Carter, and you get Nolan Smith anyway. So this is fantastic as far as I'm concerned. But my question is he still? How long do you keep him in the wings? What do you do with Josh Sweat? I was really digging Patrick Johnson. He was having a great summer, but now he's injured. But hopefully it's nothing serious. But Nolan Smith, you keeping both of these guys, and you're talking about maybe like max money at that point, aren't
you? I think that it is worth. I think that it would be worth to have them both. And this could kind of lead into talking about training camp and stuff like that. It could be smoke, and it probably is just smoke. But was that today or yesterday? Nolan Smith was actually taking snaps at linebacker with Nakobe Dean being out. I think
they're moving him all over the place. They love his versatility. They feel like he can play anywhere, and maybe some truth to that.
Yeah, I think his versatility. He's a Swiss Army knife of a player, and if he can be that Swiss Army knife of a player, I think that it would be worth having both those guys on a roster for as long as possible. Obviously, that money thing, that max money thing, is an issue. Who knows when it comes to that time whether or not salary cap goes up or anything like that? Man, it's just one of those things, and it's the preseason. How many times have you seen a guy ball out in training camp and then just turn into a pumpkin when it comes to the actual season starting? Do you want both of them? Yeah, obviously. Is it feasible? Potentially. I don't know. Yeah, I would say if you can do it, absolutely.
Definitely, if you can. It's a rising salary cap every single year. We're thinking about Jalen's deal that's got to get done. You got to pay Devontae Smith. You got to do all this stuff, man. And fortunately, with the salary cap, there's always going to be the situation where you need something you don't have it and stuff. But
also Howie, and the guy understands numbers more than maybe anybody, certainly more than me.
The thing he has working in his favor, I think, man, as far as I'm concerned, is he does play a premium position, one that the Eagles value. They don't value linebacker. They don't value safeties. Cornerbacks are probably like the third most important piece as far as roster building, as far as they're concerned. That's just on the defensive side of the ball. So we're looking at D tackle because they want to force the middle. They want edge guys so they come off the outside and make life hell for the opposing quarterback. And then, we just see what we're going to do with the linebackers, which has always confused me. Like, we don't care about linebackers, but we create these systems in which they have to get all the tackles. Funnel everything to these guys. So you get like Alex Singleton leading the team in tackles for a year. Then the next year it's TJ, and now it's probably going to be Nakobe. I argued against this, but it's probably going to be Nakobe Dean leading the team in tackles this year.
I mean, maybe. He's kind of, like I said, he's kind of been a pumpkin for the this training camp so far, is how it sounds. And two thoughts on that. Number one is that, at least for me, I would say that edge rusher is probably the second most important single position. Like offensive line, I'd put that as a unit. I would say that edge rusher person as an individual behind quarterback is the most important. So yeah, you definitely want the most talented guys there. The other thing, when you're talking about linebackers and stuff, and this is kind of what had me worried a little bit with that Nolan Smith taking snaps at linebacker. The Eagles don't understand linebacker. They don't, and you would want your guy that you drafted in the first round to get as much development at the position, and especially his rookie year, as he possibly could. And the fact that they're just throwing him back there, it's like, do they understand the value of that guy at that edge rusher position? And that's kind of where my mind went whenever I saw that first. It's like, that's not a good thing. Kind of like Bears getting a quarterback, and they're like, oh yeah, we got to do it. It's like, actually, you didn't, because you're the Bears. If the Eagles get a linebacker or a guy they're putting in a linebacker, chances are you're gonna be like, yush, I wish that we didn't do that, because we don't get that position. But yeah, like you said, the value of the linebacker, it's a very, very, very bizarre thing.
And we talked about, we kind of date this back to Andy Reid's era and sit there and say that, that's when we learned it. And this is kind of where Howie Roseman learned from the school of Andy Reid in terms of roster building. So obviously the idea is to build in the trenches, like we were just kind of talking about.
Yep.
But then you got your quarterback. You want to keep him vertical with an offensive line. You want to attack the other team's opposing quarterback with the defensive line and a pass rush. But the linebacker position traditionally has been ignored. And we blame that on Andy Reid, but it actually goes back before Andy Reid, because this team has not taken a linebacker in the first round of the NFL draft since 1979. That was Jerry Robinson out of UCLA. We don't take defensive backs in the first round either. I gave up when and I'm glad Brandon Graham is here. Brandon Graham's my guy. But I actually thought when we traded up in 2010, we were doing so to get Earl Thomas to replace Brian Dawkins. That didn't happen. I think they were excited about J.C. Horn to some extent. I believe they probably would have gone after Sauce had the option been there for them. I know they liked Patrick Surtain, but we needed a wide receiver. But last defensive back taken in round one being Lito Shepherd, and that was 2002. So you got mock drafts, you're going after linebackers and defensive backs. It's not going to happen.
It's been a minute, and there's been a lot of people in charge all kind of making the same decision. So you kind of like all making the same decision to not get that defensive back in the first round. So yeah, it's more. I think it's more than a trend now. I think it's just that's just a thing that's going to happen.
Okay, so the answer is Haason Reddick underpaid. We all know the answer is yes, but let's go ahead and talk about pass rushes anyway. So Derek Barnett's still here, 1-year deal. Fans don't like Derek Barnett.
Yeah.
Some of the media is irritated with Derek Barnett, but the team loves him. His coaches love him. They got the full confidence in him. He's going to be here. He's going to be on the field. He's going to get snaps is what it is. Teron Jackson waiting in the wings. Actually got some playing time in year one. Spent most of year two on the practice squad. They like Janarius Robinson. I don't know if he's making the team or not. Josh Sweat is here. I'm wondering if Kentavious Street makes this team now. We've heard nothing from him since you're talking about pumpkins.
Right.
They seem to like Nakobe Dean, man. They like how he is in the classroom and stuff. I haven't seen any splash plays as far as practice, but what's the chances of Nakobe actually developing into this top tier middle linebacker, play caller / quarterback of the defense that we want to see?
Now, what Nakobe Dean does great, you go back and watch his stuff in college, is that he's a blitzer. Eagles have not had a linebacker that's like an elite blitzer in a minute, man. They don't do that. Now,
unless we're counting Nolan Smith and Haason Reddick, right?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so Nakobe Dean has not done a whole lot this training camp, and now he's got an ankle thing going on. It would be very surprising to me if Sean Desai in training camp decided to start showing blitzes from a linebacker when it's something that we haven't really seen. So the fact that Nakobe Dean's not doing a whole lot here is not the most startling. It's not the most upsetting thing to me, because if they can use Nakobe Dean in the way that he's the most effective behind guys that he's played with in college, I think that you can see a lot of potential there. So the fact that Nakobe Dean, him not being is top notch, especially for a guy his size and pass coverage, does kind of stink, especially in training camp. It does kind of stink. That being said, he's also covering the best wide receivers in the world. So that, that take that for what it is. The fact that we're not, I think that when it comes to real game time, you could see a lot of Nakobe Dean actually affecting a game with the pressures that he can get. So I do think that there is a very legitimate chance to see Nakobe Dean be successful for a linebacker in a way that the Eagles haven't seen success on a linebacker in a minute.
Okay.
I feel like that's fair and realistic. I mean, yeah, you're not if you're a defensive coordinator. Why show your hand? Why show your hand in training camp?
Definitely. I'll go with that. So let's talk about some injuries then. Patrick Robinson, another one of these pass rushers. Team seems to be loaded with pass rushers, man, and we like that after coming off 70 sacks, and we're a little spoiled now, so we want to see that every single season, even though it's probably not going to happen.
Yep.
But let's see here. We got injuries. Patrick. Well, we'll start with yesterday. We had Nakobe Dean, James Bradbury go to the tent. Nakobe Dean never got on the practice field. James Bradbury missed a few plays. He got back on the field. He seems to be okay. Wasn't listed as an injury concerning any sort of
ankle. I think is what I saw on Twitter is day-to-day with an ankle, maybe.
Yeah, day-to-day with an ankle. So as far as missing practice, Barnett's been hampered this whole time with the knee injury, but he's been playing. He's limited. Avonte Madison has a toe issue. Haason Reddick, who we've been talking about, has some groin soreness. Actually, James Bradbury didn't practice today. Deion Kane was out. Nakobe Dean was out. Those Bradbury and Nakobe Dean both listed as day-to-day. We'll see with Deion Kane, but what kind of danger is he in with the ankle injury and not getting enough snaps and opportunities if he's trying to fight for what might be two roster spots? Because we got AJ, we got Devontae making the team, obviously.
Yep.
Olamide is great, man. Like, Olamide's small, but Olamide runs routes, he catches the ball, he does all this. And welcome back to the conversation, Quez, who we're gonna get into in a minute. But so if we're carrying 6 wide receivers on the roster, which is pretty normal, those guys are in. So then you got like your Deion Kanes and you got all these other guys, Greg Wards and Charleston Rambos and Joseph Nagata, who's been impressive. You got like a bunch of guys fighting for what might be 2 spots.
Yeah, and it really for Deion Kane and Devin Allen is another one. If they're looking to make the roster, they're going to have to show up Britton Covey on being a kick returner. And Britton Covey ended up being decent at returning punts last year. Like it's frightening as all hell whenever he does, because again, he just looks like he's getting hit with an artillery shell at point blank range whenever a person touches him.
Trash dummy.
Oh, the guy's body is going to be riddled with arthritis by the time he's 25. You can't take that kind of impact, my guy. So if those kind of guys are going to make any kind of depth on the team, they're really going to have to show stuff in whether it be special teams coverage or returning kicks or punts, I guess, because kick returning is not really going to happen a whole lot. So that's really their only hope. But for Devin Allen to miss this much time, and I guess and Deion Kane to miss this much time, it's a tough spot for him. And Deion Kane was USFL MVP, I believe. So I'm sure that there's certainly teams out there. If he did end up getting waived and they tried to get him on the practice roster, I'm sure there's another team out there that'd pick him up before they'd be able to get him to on that practice squad. It sucks for him, but it's reality.
Something tells me Devin Allen ends up getting carried in some shape, form, or fashion on some type of non-football injury list and everything. With there being 90 men on the roster, we'll get to Josh Sales here in a second. With there being 90 men on the roster, the issue now is these guys are actually counting against that 90 men count. Once we actually get to the regular season, things that next year, if he finds his way onto the non-football injury list and stays there, he then doesn't count on the roster, and then you can use the available space to go get another guy if you want to. But we tend not to give up on guys here, even though it seems like we may need to, a la Derek Barnett. Right. So,
Wallace.
Yeah. So Devin Allen, the track star, is probably going to be here. I'm worried, man. I'm thinking Britton Covey's going to make this team, as much as I'd hate to say that. I know we saw A.J. Brown return the punts, but that's not going to happen in the regular season. But
no.
Britton Covey, I'm feeling like Britton Covey's going to be here.
I think he definitely is. They had him even on like Sunday. They had him returning kicks, and they had Boston Scott on kick coverage, which tough for Boston, man.
Yeah,
you kind of wanted to be back there. So But then again, they changed the fair catch rule, so who the hell knows what kick return is going to look like? Maybe the guy who's in the farthest back, because that's one thing I guess teams are practicing a lot of squib kicks now, which makes sense if you want a team to have to return a kick rather than just get it at the 25-yard line off of any fair catch. Who knows where you want or how many guys back there you want that can return kicks? It's a weird thing, and I'm kind of looking forward to that as far as special teams goes this year.
Joseph Ngata out of Clemson, wide receiver U, we call it. Joseph Ngata's making plays. He's scoring touchdowns. He's beating Keely Ringo on routes and getting to the end zone and things of that nature. Joseph Ngata probably falls victim to the numbers game, though. Can you sneak him through waivers and get him back on the practice squad if he doesn't make this team? I say no.
Yeah, you ought to stop putting him in a position to be successful then, because it's standing out to people. Like if you want to keep this guy a secret and you don't want somebody else to pick him up, try to keep him a secret then. But yeah, no, good for him. If he can get his money, do it then.
I'm with you on that. All right, man. So Patrick Johnson injured. Not exactly sure what happened.
Knee or ankle, left.
It looks like something with the left side of the lower body.
That sucks. As an ACL survivor, gotta hope it's not that. It's a tough life.
Yeah. So fingers crossed for Patrick Robinson and everything. Was having a good camp and stuff, and that was one of the guys that was making me feel like we got like a ton of pass rushers on his team. And I actually think I started thinking about depth charts. I had him off the roster, but then with the showing he had, it looked like, well, Patrick Johnson may be here. Kyron Johnson can't play. So we kind of need Patrick Johnson to be here.
No kidding.
Carted off. So it's a bad way to go out in any sense of the word. But, in this situation, we just hoping that he gets better and he's back on the field as quickly as possible. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but you never know. Hopefully.
Did we have anything like that happen last year? I feel like we didn't. I feel like we had a very, very quiet training camp last year as far as injuries were concerned.
Yeah, with the style of it. But, Grant Calcaterra had his thing.
Was Tyree Jackson was a training camp thing too, I think.
Well, Tyree Jackson, he had that injury heading into that final game against Dallas the year prior.
Okay, it was.
So he still hadn't actually healed up and everything, and he actually ended on the NFI and just kind of stayed there all year and stuff. But want to go position by position, or how you want to look at this?
Yeah, let's go position by position. See how everything's looking.
How about this? Let's go first. Let's go with some of the best stories of the week. So, best stories of the week. I'm gonna start with the Josh Seals thing. Now, I know we kid around a lot, we play around a lot and things of that nature. I never want to comment on subjects such as sexual assault and things of that nature and everything because that strikes a chord with people, and for obvious reasons and stuff, we just try to report what has happened. None of us were there. None of us know the details of everything. I can only hope that any victim of any type of violence, regardless of the type, seeks the counseling and the help that they need, and they're okay. So that's the first thing. My hearts and my prayers go out to the families of all victims. And but from an Eagle standpoint, Josh Seals has been cleared of the rape and kidnapping charges. They were filed immediately after they happened when he was still at the collegiate level, but he wasn't actually indicted until February, right before the Super Bowl. He was then put on the NFL's commissioner exempt list, which he stayed up until now. Went to trial, has been found not guilty, and according to his attorney, looks like he should be with the Eagles here pretty soon. Josh Seals being one of, I think that was 13 undrafted free agents we had last year, rookie free agents, and he became one of three that made the team, including him, Josh Jobe, Josh Seals, and Reed
Blankenship. Yeah.
So one of three undrafted rookies that made the team and everything. Like I said, don't want to be insensitive to anybody if they're triggered by this and everything. We apologize, but just wanted to report the facts, seriousness of the case, and the fact that he has been found not guilty. He'll be back.
Yeah, it's a very good thing to be found not guilty of.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So in addition to that, we talked about the Haason Reddick thing, and one of the best stories for me always involves agony of Cowboy fans. And what did I do with it, man? I wanted to make sure just to stick it to Cowboys fans at all times, because they always seem to want to come on an Eagle-centric site and say they're living rent-free in our minds. You're on the Eagles site, you're on the Eagles Facebook page, you're on the Eagles YouTube page, you're on our live stream, and you're talking about us, but you're living rent-free in our minds. That's what they say. But just wanted to let you guys know that Dak Prescott is in mid-season form.
Come on, Dak.
We need to program a sound clash horn. It seems like that's appropriate right now. But Dak Prescott is in midseason form, already throwing passes to the unintended receiver and the guys in the wrong color jerseys. How do you feel about Dak Prescott, who I was told was the best quarterback in NFC East over Jalen Hurts?
You know, he's not going to throw 10 interceptions this year. So, you know, that's where he's at. Well, I think I've seen like 5 or 6 maybe so far in preseason. Jalen has thrown 1, and that just happened today. It was Darius Slay that picked him up. Good, Dak, good for you, pal. Good for you. You know what? Spread the ball around. Doesn't matter who you're throwing to, my friend. Just, you know, get the ball to whoever the hell you want to. What a joke. I'm glad that they spent money on him. That's so much fun. It's so much fun to just have you totally forget about the Cowboys training camp happening, and then the only highlights that you see are Deuce Vaughn running around like a little squirrel and Dak Prescott throwing the ball to his defense. What a good time of year.
I truly despise the Cowboys fans. Like, I have no problem saying that publicly as often as I have a chance to do so. Like, you are the most illiterate, most annoying fan base. You're just like, you're the Beyonce fans of like the NFL. Like, why do you talk? Like, but I give them credit. Like, last year was the first time I ever saw the Dallas Cowboys go out in a blaze of nothingness. And it was the first time in my life I didn't hear at the end of the season a Cowboys fan say, well, you know you're going to go to the Super Bowl again next year, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm really hoping that Zeke playing center really crushed the hopes and spirits of people. You know, that's all I'm hoping for, is when something that foolish and dumb, people start actually being realistic about the state of the franchise. That's great. I love it. It was no longer a see you guys next year. It was a we already are eliminated from the playoff contention in 2023. That's where I'm at. I'm loving it.
Got a question, man, here. Is that deal? How do you guys feel about Nolan at linebacker recently? Any chance he starts next to Nakobe? Is there a chance the staff feels he's playing with his guy, Dean, from college? It's more possible he could. And if you tune in late, we were kind of talking about that a little bit earlier. But I don't see a situation where he starts. I think you're going to see a lot from him during his rookie campaign. The Eagles are actually fortunate enough they don't actually need him to start immediately, but I'd probably slot him in that same position right behind Haason Reddick, things of that nature. One of the things that I kind of like that he was saying was he's really happy to be here. These Georgia guys really like each other. Like, these aren't just guys that just went to college with each other. These aren't just guys that just hung out. And these guys are like really friends. These guys treat each other like family. Jordan Davis on social media asking his guys, yo, I'm out here. They got shoes. You guys need to come out and get any shoes, anything. Inviting guys to come by his pad, his crib, so they can crash. But these are a group of young guys that truly seem to like each other. I'm impressed by Keely. I'm impressed by Jordan. And we can even throw our other guy, DeAndre Swift, in there. What wasn't a part of that team, but a Georgia Bulldog nonetheless. But Nolan, great guy. Everything I've seen as far as work ethic, I mean, that guy is Jalen Hurts, but on the defensive side of the ball. And we got a lot of those guys, man. Like Jordan Davis is the same way. Like those guys are uber intense. Those guys are uber focused, and they're going to be successful for that reason. But to answer your question, Deal, and I hope we're saying that right, but to answer your question, I don't see a situation where he starts this year. I don't think you need him. So you got Josh Sweat on the outside. You got Brandon Graham. You got Haason Reddick as far as like your edge rushers. We'll see what happens with Patrick Robinson. They're going to give burn to Derek Barnett just based off of where he was drafted. They like him a lot. And that's the fortunate thing about having a team this good that you were just adding to. You're adding to a Super Bowl roster who lost, obviously, a bunch of starters, your top 2 safeties, your top 2 linebackers. But I don't see him starting next to Nakobe. They've moved him around a lot, but I think that's still going to be Nicholas Morrow's spot. and Christian Ellis is tearing it up. Christian Ellis is going to be great. So,
Also, Christian Ellis, incredibly handsome. Did you see that? I haven't seen Christian Ellis's face. At least I don't remember seeing his face. That is a very handsome man. That's like a Jimmy Garoppolo style face that man has.
Christian Ellis is a runway model. We'll sit there and say that, man.
Lord, he's a linebacker.
That's trying to make anything uncomfortable and everything, man. But if that guy can play, he's not going to have any problem with the legs. Not in Philadelphia.
Not a chance.
I just wish Fletcher Cox would mess with like single ladies. Like, well, I'm sorry.
No. Yeah.
We apologize, Fletcher. You know, Fletcher has his own woman now and everything, and he seemed to turn the corner. We're not pulling shotguns on jealous boyfriends.
You know what? It happened though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So like I already said, I don't necessarily want the Eagles to try to put somebody at linebacker that does, especially first round pick, because they don't understand linebacker. That being said, if Nolan Smith did work out at linebacker, you're talking about the potential for a guy to be able to get that defensive rookie of the year. Because if you can get a guy that's going to be not just a Swiss Army knife, but an incredibly effective Swiss Army knife, whose knife part of that is a Bowie knife, that's going to be one hell of a player. The other thing that we were talking about on Monday, you weren't here for this, but one question that I posed was, do you remember? Okay, so say the Eagles had a package that they had both Haason Reddick and Nolan Smith rushing from opposite edges. Number one, we decided that it would probably be best if we're talking like you got the other team backed up real deep, or you got them backed up on their own goal line. It would be a fun and maybe effective package for something like that. But do you remember any times where a team has had two smaller speed edge rushers and be effective on a consistent basis?
As you had not answered that question, I would probably say, yeah. I mean, I've seen it. I think I kind of want to go with Buffalo tried to do last year with the Von Miller thing. And what's the guy's name out of what's his name? The defensive end they got.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
I think that's what they tried to do there and everything. But I'm liking where you're coming from, man, to be honest with you, because I don't see a situation where, I mean, we want to get Nolan Smith as many snaps as possible. The man is freakishly athletic and stuff. If that's your third pass rusher on any given down, we're in pretty good shape.
Right.
Haason Reddick on one side, as you mentioned, and they're playing the linebacker role and stuff like that. So if you got these guys and say you go out or something like that, you got the combinations you can mix up of Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat. You can throw them in there. You can mix in a Haason Reddick. You can mix in a Nolan Smith. I still got the fingers crossed that Patrick Johnson is going to be all right. He's looked impressive, albeit against like second teamers and things of that nature, as opposed to starters. But he's been very impressive. I'm satisfied with what I'm seeing and stuff. But you got a wealth of options as far as what Sean Desai likes to do. And
yeah,
I'm amazed with some of these packages he got, like this big nickel package with these three safeties and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I like
I want to see what that looks like. But maybe if we had more, and I know we keep talking about the Eagles and these, what's this? How do I put this? This attitude of being lax as far as the workload during the spring and summer months. But you know, obviously Nick Sirianni knows his team better than we did. We complained about this last year. They made a Super Bowl and stuff, but
yeah, came out week one and we're rolling.
Do you remember this though? Like, and this is one of the reasons I bring this up. Jonathan Gannon, we're playing the Kansas City Chiefs at home. Kansas City decides they're going to put Tyreek Hill in the slot, and there was no answer for that. And the reason there was no answer for that is because we didn't have a dime package. And part of the reason I always talk about longer practices or more practices is because if you practice, we can put a dime package in. We didn't have a dime package. So Tyreek Hill lost his mind. And then Jalen Hurts, as great as he's become and everything, there was still that situation where a lot of the stats that we saw were at the end of the games because guys had kind of just accepted the fact that the Eagles are going to try to pass to get back in and things of that nature. And we would tack on a lot of yards and touchdowns late, you know, the Dak Prescott style, minus the interceptions. But we didn't have a dime package. And I keep thinking about that. But now it's like, you brought a lot of guys back. Your top two safeties are gone. Your best young defensive tackle is gone. Your top two linebackers from last year are gone and stuff like that. If there was any time to kind of mix things up and do things a little bit differently, would this not have been the year to try to put these longer practice sessions in?
as long as they're being effective with it, with their time, yeah, you're not wrong. But you gotta believe that a guy is going to be able to install these kinds of packages and stuff like that. I don't think that using Jonathan Gannon as a model for efficiency and effectiveness in anything is a good idea. The man, yeah, the guy's a loser. Like I think that he probably could have installed those if he wanted to, but he's Jonathan Gannon and he's smarter than the rest of us. Pew pew pew. That's his thing. He's that guy. No, I think that a reasonable human being would be able to put in the packages that they need in the amount of time that they're given, especially with like the walkthroughs and stuff. You don't need it to be a full-on practice in order to install a package.
So you went bold predictions. I'm gonna go bold here, and just for the sake of, I have nothing to back this off with. I have no factual evidence other than what I'm just guessing. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to say that in a year before a contract year, Haason Reddick goes out and he comes within 1 sack of breaking the sack record. That's what I'm going to go with. That's my bold prediction. I'm going to say, because I still want to talk about Quez Watkins. You see, we're saving Quez Watkins. But I'm going to say 3,000-yard receivers, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert.
Okay.
I think it would have happened last year had Dallas Goedert not gotten hurt and then he not missed like 5 games. But I'm gonna say 3,000-yard receivers. That's a lot to say. And
3 1,000-yard receivers.
3 1,000-yard receivers. What did I say?
You said 3,000. You just left the one out. So
Yes.
3,000.
3 1,000-yard receivers. AJ, Devontae, Dallas, and I'm going to go. Haason Reddick comes close to the sack record, but misses it by 1 sack.
Okay, I like that.
Reason being that we're up like late in one of those early games in the season. They pull them out early, and that ends up costing them.
Huh. Okay, yeah, and I would especially like that if we're talking him getting some kind of what were we calling it? Where they get bonus money for how they do. What's that called? I just use
incentives.
Yeah, incentives. Yeah, I don't know why I have trouble with words. Yeah, especially if he gets like some kind of sack incentive, I think that could be a very real thing. So yeah, that would only fuel that. You want a bold prediction for me? Bold prediction for your boy. 2 of them. I'm gonna give you. They're both Jake Elliott. They're both Jake Elliott predictions. Jake Elliott.
Kicker predictions. We like it.
It's my boy Jake. Come on, Jake. Jake Elliott, 150 points this year. He was at 111 points last year. He only kicked 20 field goals, had 51 PATs. So I think that's and we're talking the Eagles only running the ball, or being the most run-heavy team, maybe not the most run, but being incredibly run-heavy in the second half because they're up so many points. So I think that's going to drop down. That's going to have that negative regression. I think that the Eagles are actually going to have to play real offense in second halves this year. I think
they're going to be in some shootouts against some better quarterbacks. Yeah,
I think that it's going to be conducive to better quarterbacks and better defenses. But I think it's going to be conducive to Jake Elliott getting more field goals, getting more PATs. So that's one. The other one that I really like is Jake Elliott being the longest perfect kicker. So like being the kicker that stays perfect for the longest in the season. Last year, he was at 20 made field goals out of 23 attempts. The 3 attempts that he had, he missed a 36-yarder against the Bears. That was in Chicago when it was 2 degrees outside. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. Maybe if you weren't kicking a rock, you could probably kick it 36 yards straight. One of his missed field goals was a 54-yarder against Houston. That's 54 yards. That's tough to do. And then the other one was a blocked kick by Patrick Peterson against the Vikings. So those were the 3 misses that he had. I think that Jake Elliott, number one, 150 points, and does it in a shocking fashion by being perfect for the longest.
I actually had this was a thing, everybody was really interested in him kicking today. And we were trying to keep up with the distances and things. So I'm looking for it. It's probably going to hit me here in a second, but I have no idea where I put this. But I actually did this because I was going to bring this up for some reason, and I'm glad you brought that up. But Jake's automatic, like from 50 plus. Like he just seems to miss from 15.
When do we talk about Jake Elliott being an elite kicker? When do we get to do that?
Yeah, he is.
Because shoot, last night Greg Zuerlein still kicking, and he's doing a great job. Like that guy, I don't want to call him a lead or anything, but he's out there getting shine. I think a Jake Elliott. I think this is the year. I mean, and what he was certainly Pro Bowl last year. Well, except for the Super Bowl, he's been like. Anyway, I think we need to start talking about Jake Elliott as being one of the best kickers in the league, and I think that this could be the year to do that. Especially again, like I said, more offense in the second half.
Yeah, I can dig it, man. I'm still looking for these distances and everything. For some reason, I can't remember where I put them.
And what did Jaleel called him?
Okay.
Jake Never Missy Elliott. I like that.
He went 6. He attempted 6 field goals today in a special teams drill. He had from 33, 41, 45, 28, 40, 42. So nothing over 50, but he doesn't really need to. We all know he's automatic from 50 plus.
61, baby.
Yeah. So what else you got as far as bowl predictions?
Bowl predictions. This one, like you said, nothing to go off of, nothing to base this off of. But Eagles continue the second quarter dominance that they had last year. They were historically good in the second quarter as far as offensive points being scored. So in the first quarter, the first, third, and fourth quarter, this is what they were at. First quarter, they averaged 5.9 points per first quarter. Third quarter, they were averaging 4.6 points. Fourth quarter, 6 points. In the second quarter, a whopping 12.6 points in the second quarter. I think that they can keep that going. A lot of that, I believe, was due to play calling by Shane Steichen. So Brian Robinson, like we've said, has big shoes to fill, running the same offense with the same quarterback, the same offense essentially, personnel-wise too, as Shane Steichen did. But if he can do that, and with the development of Jalen Hurts, and especially seeing Jalen Hurts keep his cool in 2-minute drills, I think that 12.6 could be repeatable. So that's another bold prediction for me.
Cool deal.
I do have a Shane Steichen question for you, though, and I just thought I was thinking of this earlier. So I guess number one, what is your thoughts, or is it a case-by-case basis on ex-Eagles coordinators that have gotten head coaching jobs? Do you feel good for those guys? Do you root for those guys, or is it a case-by-case thing for you?
I guess it's case by case. I like Frank Reich.
Yes.
I feel like we all love Frank Reich and everything. I don't feel like Frank Reich deserved that Carolina job. I think it should have gone to Steve Wilkes.
Fair.
Because the part of the Frank Reich story we don't like to tell is Frank Reich didn't take this team to the playoffs and then win in the playoff games, which was what he was brought there to do.
Right.
I think he's the quarterback whisperer. I think he's excellent. I'm probably not cheering for Gannon. The cynical side of me wants to see him do very poorly.
Absolutely.
As much as I probably shouldn't say that.
He will.
And I don't think he lasts past this season. I think they're starting to get impatient in Arizona for some reason. Like Arizona feels like they should win and they should win now. So I don't think he makes it past this season.
He's my vote for coach getting fired during the season.
Yeah. A lot of these other guys, when they move on, they like him. I love Ron Rivera. You're not going to get me to say anything bad about Ron Rivera. Wasn't an OC or anything, position coach, but love him to death. I'm always have a soft spot in my heart for Jim Harbaugh and things of that nature. So, yeah. To your point, I do find myself cheering for the Ravens and things of that nature when they're not playing the Eagles, and obviously we're only going to see them once every 4 years, or if these two teams meet in the Super Bowl. But
and the one guy you didn't bring up is Shane Steichen. I'm going to be wanting to root for Shane Steichen because
I am going to want to root for Shane Steichen. Yes. Yeah.
Now, do you feel bad for him with the Jonathan Taylor stuff going on? Because I do. Because there's a lot of talk about you got Jim Irsay, and then who's their GM, Ballard.
Yeah.
You got like these guys are getting like these guys are kind of screwing things over. You got a first-time head coach who's going in with a rookie quarterback, and the one thing that that you're hoping for him is that he can use Jonathan Taylor. And now Jonathan Taylor's in a hairy situation. I feel bad for Shane Steichen. Like the guy. He's not getting that.
He didn't get what he thought he was going to get when he walked over there. But
that Indy job is looking day by day, week by week, looking less and less appealing.
I wouldn't go so far as to say I feel bad for him. I think that's just the NFL in per se, in general, especially when you take over a floundering team.
Right.
You're gonna get a team that doesn't know how to play, not more times than not. But that's the NFL. That's what we are. That's what we live in. We live in quarterbacks get judged because these guys don't have wide receivers or offensive line. Tough, go win anyway.
Yeah, I guess the other thought is that there's a reason that they had a head coach vacancy there to begin with.
Yeah.
So if that spot's open for him, he's going to have a tough time. It just sucks that he's like, all right,
you left a great situation and a great team and everything. Nobody's going to knock you because you went out and got yourself a head coaching job. That's what you're supposed to do. You got to take care of yourself and your family. But yeah, I find myself cheering for Shane Steichen, but feeling sorry for him, I'd probably say no because that's the NFL.
Yeah, I'm just gonna feel bad if he has like a running back who ends up being a total dud being their starter. I'm like, it's very unfortunate. But yeah, I just had that thought earlier this week with all the JT stuff happening.
All right, looks like we got another question. This one is also from Deal. Deal wants to know, how do you guys see the R&B situation shaking out? What percentage of usage would you give the top 3 RBs? Swift looks like the front runner, but you would also expect that so far without the pads, I think. I actually think Swift has looked great in practice. Swift runs routes like a wide receiver and catches like one. I think we're going to see some stuff that we didn't see last year. Nick Sirianni has a tendency to be impatient and things of that nature. He's got other guys calling the plays for him now and everything, but it's still Nick Sirianni's offense. And Nick didn't really like throwing to the backside of the backfield because he didn't really see where they were good at it. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see some DeAndre Swift in the slot a little bit, let him play a little wide receiver and confuse some guys. Maybe try to create some situations where you get like a Shifty or Swift on like a linebacker. Try to see if you can take advantage of there. But we also got tight ends like Dallas Goedert who can't be covered by cornerbacks and really can't be covered really that well by linebackers. At least that was the case. But now linebackers are like 265 pounds. They run the 40-yard dash in 4.3 seconds. So that could change. But some of these guys can cover as well. But I actually don't have Swift as my RB1. I'm still going to get at Rashad Penny. We make a lot about Rashad Penny not being able to catch the ball out of the backfield, but I only think that's because he was never asked to do it. They don't throw the ball in his direction, but when they do throw the ball in his direction, he catches it. Rashad Penny is actually, I know we can sometimes get into the stylistic stuff with DeAndre Swift, and we can get into the natural talent and the playmaking ability, which is all fair, and I'm all excited for that. But Rashad Penny is the best running back on this roster if Rashad Penny can stay healthy. He was a first-round draft choice at the running back position, and you know how we devalue the running back position. But he was a first-round draft pick in an era we started devaluing running backs as top-tier draft picks, and that was done for a reason. We just could never keep him on the field because his body's fragile.
Yeah, and he is hands down the running back. But I think that the Eagles are cognizant enough to know that he is a fragile person. I think DeAndre Swift won because you said the reason that they're not throwing to running backs. You did see them throwing to running backs when it came to third downs, and they would take Miles Sanders out and put Kenny Gainwell in because Kenny Gainwell could catch where Miles Sanders had the fingerless hands. He just had palms and couldn't catch the ball or hold on to it. So I think that they want to, and with Jalen Hurts being making boatloads of money now, I think that it's going to be a very real thing to be able to have that receiving running back out there. Right. The DeAndre Swift wheel route is a dangerous thing. So I think that he's going to be the RB1, and I think you use Rashad Penny like you did Jordan Howard, where and I don't know if you were on this one, but in my mind, you're going to see a perfect Rashad Penny game against the Commanders, where the Commanders don't have depth on the D line, and you're just going to start doing the Jordan Howard thing, where you just run the ball down the middle, and it just gets these guys gassed. You run it down the middle 2-3 times, and he's going to break one, and then you're just going to keep pounding it down the field with Rashad Penny, and that's where he's going to shine. The man is a bowling ball. You just load him into a cannon and just let him rip enough times, he's going to break one. But I don't think you do that on a consistent basis. So for me, it's a DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny show. You sprinkle in a Boston Scott 2 games a year. Kenny Gainwell's there. Maybe Kenny Gainwell ends up flexing out, and what we saw from him in the postseason last year isn't just a flash in the pan for him. Maybe that's who he is. But what we know for a fact is that DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny are great running backs, and I think that those two guys, I would say you give 45% of the snaps to, or the carries to, DeAndre Swift. You give 15% to Rashad Penny. You give, what does that give me left? About 30%. You give 20% to Kenny Gainwell, and then you give the last 10% to Boston Scott throughout the year. That's
probably that's going to happen, because you're right. I like Boston Scott a lot better than everybody else and everything, but we're only going to use Boston Scott against the Giants, which I think is unfortunate. The most decisive run for me outside of the ones I saw from Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl was a run by Boston Scott. It was decisive. He made something happen. He looked a lot more confident than Miles Sanders, who was playing with his feelings hurt. And for some reason, we decided we weren't going to give him a ball again. But he's your fourth guy on a depth chart that I think carries 4 running backs. You and I have inverted DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny, but those are your top 2. Kenneth Gainwell being the third option, who I think is – I'm going to go with him, man. I think he's a lot better than everybody thought he was. I thought he was a steal when we got him in the 5th round anyway. And I think the reason we haven't seen it is because he just hasn't been utilized. And we decided we were going to use him in the playoffs, and that led to some great results and stuff. So
he's making $900,000. He's making less than $1 million.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, that's the world we live in now, right?
Yeah.
So
but that is if everybody's healthy. That can easily change, because 100% chance it's going to happen that one of these running backs is going to get hurt, and then you throw in Kenny Gainwell there, and he's going to. I would assume. I mean, you put anybody behind this offensive line, they're going to flex. So,
I don't see us carrying 5 running backs. I've heard people say that. So, Gainwell, Penny, Swift, Scott are the guys. Trey Sermon's
going to be a practice squad.
Trey Sermon's going to be a practice squad guy, and he'll get
Kennedy
called.
Brooks does nothing for me.
I'm not a Kennedy Brooks either, and I actually liked him, but it was like, but I guess I shouldn't have been too excited because it was the Big 12 and it was Oklahoma and nobody plays defense. So that's the thing.
Well, and then Ohio State, and then he got hurt, in the Natty, but whatever.
Yeah. All right, we close it tonight with Quez has an edge. Now, if you know anything about us, you know that we've kind of been split on our opinions of Quez Watkins from time to time. But the fairness about Inside the Iggles is we always give guys credit when they deserve credit.
Yeah.
We apologize when we're wrong. And I want to apologize because I was wrong. And we kick guys in the tail when they need a kick in the tail. That's what
I'm going to beat you when you're bad, but I'm going to give you kudos.
We need to be celebrated and stuff like that. Quez has an edge, Jake. Quez might be back. Now, I realize it's only been 6 practices. I realize that half of these practices were done with shorts and no pads on. But Quez Watkins is catching the ball. Quez Watkins is winning 50-50 balls. Quez looks like he's focused. Quez told us, I am elite. Now, I ain't going to lie. I laughed when I heard that. But Quez says he's elite. Quez seems to be back. Quez seems to be hungry. Quez knows everything you've said about him. Quez knows this is a contract year. This is the 4th year that we've seen Quez Watkins, the third wide receiver taken in a draft that included Jalen Reagor and John Hightower, who are no longer on his team. Quez cost us arguably, I never want to say it comes down to one play, but that fumble against Washington hurt. Not fighting for the football against the Dallas Cowboys twice hurt. That drop in the Super Bowl hurt. So maybe he cost us 3 games. Quez needs to do better. Quez understands that. And so far, you can only do what you can do, and that's only done in practice. And Quez looks like he's back, man. Quez, I apologize for some of the stuff I said. We're going to hold you accountable if you need to be held accountable. But, hey, if I'm looking at it right now, Jake, Quez is still the 3rd wide receiver on his team. He's holding off Olamide.
Yeah, I'll apologize to Quez. I said you were a coward. I did say that. I said that a lot. I'll walk that one back for now. He is on very thin ice with me. If he is hands down better than Olamide Zaccheaus, Quez, I'm in on you. Thin ice. Yeah, I will flip like that. I will flip on you, Quez. Do not test me. But also congratulations and thank you for doing well. and trying, working. And everybody seems like they have faith in him. I know after OTAs, Sirianni and Jalen both said that Quez is looking good. And I trust those two guys. I trust them. So we have it on good authority that Quez could indeed possibly be back. And if he is back, phenomenal. If this is a facade, ooh, buddy, I will come down on you with a fury of 1,000 suns.
Well, the theory is Quez has one elite trait. We all know what that trait is. I don't think Quez is a slot receiver, but if you're the WR3, that's what you're probably going to end up playing. That's probably a role that's better suited for Olamide. And you're going to see some spice plays from Olamide because he's going to be playing with that second team. We're going to see him in the preseason. And because there's that familiarity, as we spoke about probably about 2 weeks ago, Marcus Mariota, he's going to get a lot of targets. So you're going to see the ball in Olamide's hands a lot. And he is phenomenal. Like, I think they have upgraded the WR4 position from Zach Pascal, and I love Zach Pascal. But you got a guy now that can make plays and it can create in space and can confuse people on the defensive side of the ball. If A.J. Brown is your top option, Devontae Smith is your play, so you can invert that on plays. If Dallas Goedert is your third option in the passing game, and then Quez is your fourth, and maybe Olamide is your fifth option in the passing game, maybe drops down to 6 if we start mixing DeAndre Swift and Rashard Penny in there, this is going to be a fun offense to watch, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's you brought up his familiarity with Marcus Mariota. We touched on that for a minute on Monday. Mariota's not doing him any favors. He's not doing him any favors. I want Olamide as a case to get that wide receiver 3 spot, but Brett Toth snapping the ball, just dribbling it on the ground, doing a bounce pass to Marcus Mariota is not helping. Mariota's throwing the ball like a maverick anywhere. He's not doing Olamide's a case any favors. So the jury's still out on that. I think that those joint practices and those preseason games will tell a lot.
All right, man. 60 minutes went by quick as always.
We did it.
Everybody that took some time out of their Friday to hang out us, we appreciate y'all. We appreciate those of y'all who hit us up every day to tell us that you realize you don't have to watch us live and you're going to watch us later. So those of you who watch us on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we appreciate you guys as well. We'll see you guys on Monday, and we should have a stock roster for that one, man. There's going to be a bunch of people here.
Gonna have Brandon said he's going to the might be going to the practice on Sunday, so we'll have to hear from him about that.
All right, I'll be down in Charlotte, Spartanburg, checking out the Panthers, and definitely gonna be there when they have their joint practice with the Jets because I want to see some Aaron Rodgers. But it's gonna be a fun summer the rest of the way, man, and then it's gonna be time for some Eagles football before you know it. Hall of Fame inductions tomorrow.
Yeah, DeMarcus Ware singing the national anthem. I understand that it was the Demetrius Thomas thing was behind it. I understand that. That was the whole reason that he did it. Not a singer, that fella. Stick to football. All right.
Those of you tuning in Inside the Iggles, we appreciate y'all. Follow us on X at Inside Iggles. Bookmark the Facebook page with the face mark page. What is that?
New thing. Copyright.
Follow the face market. What is it called, man? Facebook, right? Facebook page. I hate social media. Follow us on the Facebook page. Follow us on Inside the Iggles at X. Make sure you go check out the new YouTube page that you guys asked us to start and don't seem to want to follow, but subscribe to us there. Ring the bell. We'll check you guys out on Monday. Should be fun. Go Birds.